So that's how the mature adult trees interact with each other. So what about the young trees? So in a forest, all the trees will, most trees will on a yearly basis. Some trees will be like certain trees in New Zealand that do the mast, and only every few years they will do it. But most trees will be every year, and otherwise will be every few years, or whatever the cycle will be of that particular type of tree, in which they will produce seeds, and they will spread out the seeds. Now, they produce lots of seeds. Most trees will produce hundreds, if not thousands, of seeds every time they do, but most of these won't grow. But the ones that do, the little seedlings, will germinate in the forest floor, and as they should do naturally, under the canopy of their parents and their fellow trees of the forest, basically underneath mature trees. And then they will, when they germinate on the forest floor, they will, as they send their roots down, will immediately link into that mycelial network. So now they're part of it. So the mature trees will then, the mother trees, so the trees that they're underneath, particularly, would be like the one that, well, often it'll be the mother of those seedlings. Sometimes it won't be, and they will care for their own young, so that the mother tree will recognize its own children and care for those children particularly, but they will also feed and care for the other children, and all the trees will be like this, so they're all looking after their young, the young of each other. So they will link into this mycelial network, and then the trees, the parent trees, will do two things for the mature trees, which will be acting as the parents. Okay, this is just a noise disturbance. Okay, sorry, just noise disturbance again. Just to clarify, that mature trees of any kind, of any species, will care for the seedlings of any trees, any species. Well, almost all. There's maybe a few exceptions, but almost all of them will care for any babies of any species. The trees will recognize their own offspring, as in their own flesh and blood, as it were, but obviously trees. They will recognize that they're their children, and they will tend to care for them particularly. However, they will care for all young trees that happen to be growing beneath them. So they will feed them with nutrients and sugars and really look after them really well. But they will look after their own particularly, but they will look after all of them. So they will recognize their children and care for them, but all young trees will be cared for by the mature trees, and they'll certainly be doing far better away from the parent trees than, they'll be certainly doing far better with the support of these foster parent trees than they would be if they didn't have that support. They'll do far better with the support. And another really interesting thing that the trees will do is they will, it's going to sound very contradictory, but they, what's the best way of saying it, they stunt them, they suppress their growth. And you might think, oh, what? They stunt them, they suppress their growth, that's terrible, that's not helpful. But actually it's very, very helpful, because trees are long-lived beings. They naturally live a long time. And so for a tree, it is desirable to live as long as possible for that species. So with a tree, the slower it grows as a young tree, the longer its lifespan will ultimately be. So by stunting and suppressing the growth of the seedlings, those mature trees will be ensuring that if and when those seedlings reach maturity, they will live a much longer ultimate lifespan, which is greatly to the benefit of those trees. So they do all this for all of the seedlings that grow beneath them. So that's basically how trees care for their young. And it's a really amazing, beautiful thing.